Quest 3 and the Quest 3S both got more powerful on us recently. It's actually been a couple months now on the Quest 3, even before the 3S launched, that they increased the maximum GPU clock of the Quest 3. This was a firmware update and pushed it from what it was, which was 545 megahertz up to 599. But now, as long as thermals allow it, it can go from 599, the base end being the higher from before, all the way up to 640. Now, an important thing that this brings up is when thermals allow. As we saw in the Quest 2, even the CPU itself was underclocked because of how much of a part heat plays in VR headsets. They're on your face, so heat is an issue there. Their ventilation systems tend to be weaker, and ultimately, as Boz once mentioned to us in an Ask Me Anything where we actually got to do it in person, he said we just can't have headsets running too hot because they're on people's faces. It has to be something we're really cautious about. This does mean, though, if the headset gets too warm, especially if you're running some kind of cover on it that's messing up the ventilation, it could drop down back into the old range to help keep the headset cooler, the same way you might be used to a CPU throttling down if you're running it too high, too fast, and it's not cooling enough. It makes me wonder if they found a better cooling system, could we get a lot more power out of this current chipset, and will we continue to see an improvement in the cooling systems when we go to the next Quest? As we saw from the teardowns on the Quest 2 versus the Quest 3, the cooling solution on the Quest 3 was far more intricate and looked much more powerful. You can even tell if you have a Quest 3 on your head and you feel the top of it, a lot of heat is being pushed out of the top of it, especially for those mixed reality games that are more demanding. We've seen different mixed reality games so far that expect you to either have multiple headsets or a ton of space. There's a game launching in early access today, Last Stand. I actually got to try this early at Gamescom over in Germany, and this is a real different take on mixed reality. So it is multiplayer, but you can play with a friend who has a headset anywhere else in the world. You each map out your own play space. You can map out real world objects, so like you can use your couch as an object to hide behind from your space, and then you are fighting your friend across the way. There's zombies trying to get in on both of you. You can kill all your zombies and try and take them out yourself. You can let the zombies overrun them and hide behind your cover. And quickly between the 3 rounds, you try and buy extra weapons, ammo, upgrade, and it's a really cool way to actually be able to play mixed reality because a lot of people each have their own headset, but not everyone has multiple in their home yet. Although if you are hoping to try and get another one, they're also doing a Quest 3S giveaway that just launched alongside this. The game's in early access for a pretty low price, so I'll leave a link down in the description, the comments down below over to the giveaway to get the game to check that out today. Thanks to Last Stand for letting us play in Germany, sponsoring this video, and for bringing a whole new take to the world of mixed reality. Reality Labs, Meta's division that oversees VR, AR, that's Quest 3, Ray-Ban glasses, has been known for hemorrhaging a ton of money over the last several years. Market even said it was going to be a multi-year billions and billions of dollar investment to get to this point. But some good news on that front. For the 3rd quarter in a row now, the revenue of the Reality Labs was higher than it was the previous year. For Q3, they saw a 29% increase compared to that of 2023, and both quarter 1 and quarter 2 were 30 and 28% also. This is not terribly surprising though, because something to realize here is last year in 2023 they were reporting these numbers being way down as the Quest 2 was aging out and the Quest 3 was far more expensive. This is also before the launch of the Quest 3S, which we will hopefully see a huge increase in sales as to what's happening in the VR space now that we have such an affordably priced headset. If you're wanting to get one for Christmas and you haven't got one yet, I will leave some links down below. Something I didn't realize about the link, you actually get another $30 of in-store credit through Meta if you actually buy it through them, so I've been leaving that link and the Amazon link for you. If you do want one, get it whichever way you want, but you will get an extra $30 if you get it through Meta and not through Amazon. It's up to you. I know I personally buy stuff from Amazon all the time just because it's fast shipping, easy returns and all that, but $30 is $30. When I was at Meta Connect this year checking out the 3S before it launched, there was a booth that we got to go in and it was all about Ray-Bans, but at the time I didn't know they were actually testing a miniature version of the store that they are now opening up in LA. There's a retail store from Meta Lab and it's already open. They had a big launch party and basically it's a store dedicated to the Ray-Ban glasses, kind of around a lowrider theme, which is funny because that's exactly what we saw at Connect. The building looks really interesting from the outside. It's almost hard to tell in the pictures, but it's like a pair of Ray-Bans on the outside as you walk in, and it even has the privacy light from the Ray-Bans on the outside of the building. Basically, you can go inside, you can test out different Ray-Bans, look at the different styles of them. They do demos that show you how the AI works when you pick something up and you ask it, hey Meta, what am I looking at? And it describes it to you. They've got these lowriders you play almost like a rhythm game similar to Just Dance, but just with this big controller that was way too big for most people's hands, I thought. But it's an interesting thing they're doing this after we saw a couple years ago, we tried out the Meta store that showed off the Quest 2 and all that it could do. Maybe we will eventually see a full chain of Meta stores around the country that have the Ray-Bans or the Quest or both. Would you go to them? Would you check them out? Would you go try a 3 if you have a 2 and you haven't tried one yet? Could be interesting. I was in Atlanta recently and we were at this VR zone where they were showing tons of Quest to all these different people at this convention, and we had a team from the Syracuse University there their tech division actually come through and test out the headsets. They tried spatial ops and they were really impressed with the playing. It's funny because right after that, Meta announces that they are actually going to be bringing VR and mixed reality to colleges and universities. It's a beta program and it's launching in over a dozen universities and colleges, both in the US and the UK. And they said they were going to be having a range of education-specific apps and features, making it so schools could start making these devices more approachable to their students, but including some big names, Arizona State University, Miami-Dade College, and basically these colleges will be giving feedback on the program before they fully launch it out to the world. They say this will grow more widely this winter, but to me, this is great news. Anytime we can get more headsets out in the world, especially to people who are going to be using them potentially in their careers, developing on them, or getting one to just play on at home, it's great to see them reaching somewhere different. And it may be a trend that we're going to see. They may start to try and show that these headsets are for a lot more than gaming and start pushing away. And along that same line, Meta is reportedly slashing some of the funding for third-party VR games as they start to push more towards lifestyle content for the headsets. This would be more of the non-gaming side of the headsets: fashion, beauty, music, fitness. And this is something that Meta's done for a long time. Developers are well aware of it. They do these seed stage fundings where they will help developers develop whatever app it is they want to make. And oftentimes those were games, but now they are looking more for ones that are going lifestyle direction. Now, these are all reports coming from supposedly people at the company, but this is something Road to VR reported on and is not completely substantiated or backed by Meta. But VR developers have been talking about this behind the scene, saying that they've even had to slash their staff numbers because of the pull of funding towards gaming. Even as we see some of the studios building the big rooms for Horizon Worlds apps, cutting their team from 100 down to half of that. And of course, we all remember Ready at Dawn shutting down the one that made Lone Echo and Echo VR. What do you think about this push? Do you use your headset for much outside of gaming or media content? Is there other things that you find it useful for that would get you to put it on? I will say, although personally I love the gaming, the app that got me to repeatedly put my headset on more days in a row than any other and for the longest time was Supernatural. I was doing a family challenge where we were all trying to beat each other's points, and I think I went for like a year of not missing a day of putting the headset on and playing Supernatural at least once every day. And there's not many games I can say out there that have ever gotten me to do that. Maybe Beat Saber in the early days. So it definitely does show maybe there is more staying power in these lifestyle type of apps. What do you think? It's no surprise that Meta might push more towards lifestyle, especially as the Apple Vision Pro is a headset that has never really been marketed towards gaming. And Apple was reportedly saying it was a success, although now new reports though are coming out saying that Apple's reportedly delaying their cheaper version of the Vision Pro beyond 2027. They could be stopping Vision Pro production even by the end of this year, which is interesting that that might happen because initially when the Apple Vision Pro was being produced, they were buying the panels inside directly from Sony and they were worried that Sony couldn't make enough of them to keep up with demand. But ultimately, the original Apple Vision Pro costing $3,500 is out of reach for most people, even VR enthusiasts like myself. That's something I can't afford to buy. And if they're going to push out the cheaper version that we're all looking forward to try to get our hands on it, that may stop a lot of the excitement about the Apple Vision Pro. Independent tech analyst who we've talked about here before on the channel, Ming Chi Kuo, has been very good with their track record with what Apple's doing, and they claim that Apple's only new head-mounted display device in 2025 will actually be a Vision Pro with an upgraded processor in it and not a cheaper version at all. We all know the Apple Vision Pro costs a ton, and unfortunately we don't want to see Apple pull out of the ecosystem as quickly as they came in, but I do see a lot of videos and articles about people who have had the Vision Pro and how it's sitting around collecting dust on them. So how do you feel about it? Are you more than happy with the Quest? With the Quest 3S being $300, how can anybody justify buying an Apple Vision Pro? It's an interesting debate. You really have the extreme premium top end with Apple and the cheapest of the cheap with Meta now. But let me know how you're feeling about the VR space. There's a lot going on this week. When this video launches, I'm actually probably in New York for a launch party for Behemoth, which may be our last big exciting game of the year. This right now that Alien might have been pushed back, but we'll talk more about that in the next news. But once again, thank you for being here with me, and I'll see you in another reality.